Hey guys, Trevor here. Welcome to another fantastic episode of the Service Contractor Allstar Podcast. We are very excited to be here. We've got our guest, Jamison Lippolis, with Lightning Mobile Electric. This is going to be a fired up episode. Been looking forward to this, Jamison. We got a lot of cool things for us to talk about. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I'm really looking forward to it.
And for context, guys, just so you know a little bit about Jamison, he's an operations manager over at Lightning Mobile Electric, Denver, Colorado. They service the entire Mountain West. They're currently doing $18 million per year in revenue, growing about $2 million per year every year. So some fantastic growth. A lot of things that I think all of us can learn from and help us to go grow our own businesses as well too. So yeah, Jamison, thank you so much. We're very excited. Been looking forward to this one for a while now. So, can you tell us just a little bit about Lightning Mobile and just kind of what you guys do? I mean, it's a really cool concept, but yeah, maybe just fill us in a little bit about the business.
Yeah, absolutely. Lightning Mobile actually started out as a power washing service in 1987, ran by
Amazing.
Bruce Hayes, the father of the current owner of Lightning Mobile Electric. Started off with power washing gum off sidewalks, and it just kind of snowballed from there. It's just full tilt service. And in 2013, we opened an electrical branch. And it went just through the moon. There was so much electrical work here while Colorado was expanding economically that there was just such a need for electrical that we specialized in commercial electrical service. And ever since then, we've been just a purely commercial electrical reactive service branch. We do some projects. We do a lot of data focused work, a lot of government work, a lot of DOW work, all the way down to Walmarts and Sam's Clubs, which is one of our primary customers that's been with us for the longest amount of time. So anywhere from grocery stores to data centers to schools, just a little bit of everything. But as long as it's commercial electrical, we're there.
I love it. So that's to me, this is such a cool story. So the owner, he started off doing pressure washing and did that for about 6 years. And was probably scaling it. I don't know the story, but probably scaling it. And he got this idea of, hey, let's do electrical, right? And I mean, like how did that happen? And then eventually probably reach a point where he's like, dude, I'm making so much money with this. Forget pressure washing. We're going all in on electrical. I mean, maybe walk us through that a little bit.
Yeah, so Bruce, who was the original founder of the company, Bruce Hayes, and his son Sean Hayes, who runs the electrical side and is now the current owner of Lightning Mobile Electric. So basically, Bruce started off just pressure washing, trying to scale the business up. Did a lot of snow plowing, which kind of scaled itself up as Colorado likes to dump snow. But as the snow started to kind of like slow, we've had less snow year to year. He started looking at other services and started stepping into power washing more. And then eventually, Sean got his electrical license very young. He got it in like early 20s, which is pretty unheard of. He was a master electrician because he had been studying electrical for so long.
Wow.
Approached his dad and said, let's start an electrical division. And it took over the entire business by storm just because there's such a need for electrical. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, it was really interesting watching that, electrical at the commercial level scale is really on its own. It's not over promising. That's the big thing is there's plenty of work out there. It's always raining. It's just, can you handle it?
Yeah.
So that seems like that's been their growing pains and yeah, that's pretty much how it's
Uh,
evolved over time.
I'm sure that's kind of a temptation, right? It's taking on more than what you can handle, right? It's like, oh man, there's an extra 2 million to the bottom line, but it's like if you don't have the guys to do it, if you don't have the capacity to do it, what do you do, right? And last thing you want to do is say you can do it, and then have guys come in that botch the job, and now you're stuck with an even bigger mess, right? So I'm guessing that's probably the dynamic you guys are faced with all the time.
Oh yeah, yeah, especially at our size. I typically orbited a lot of trade businesses that really have a problem punching through that more than 50 employee glass ceiling, as it were. A lot of
Yep.
businesses struggle with punching through that ceiling and maintaining it. They usually ebb and flow back under 50, over 50. So that's just always been a struggle that was kind of around until we started to implement some more fine tuning as far as hiring guys coming through the door. Like, what are your actual capabilities? Can we understand your capabilities within a certain amount of time and then play to those strengths and then further push them through education so that way we have the talent that we need to take on those bigger projects? But oh, yeah, there's projects that come down and it's like, that would be so cool to work on that. But can we do it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting dynamic, and I think a lot of business owners experience this. You're talking about the 50 level. I think 50 is definitely a big level to keep in mind for a lot of business owners. I mean, I think some listening might be like experiencing that at 5, and some might be experiencing it at 20. Right? There's always these ceilings, and John Maxwell calls it lid. Law of the lid. Can you remove that lid to get to that next level? What do you think that artificial barrier is around 50? Why does it exist? You talk about having better recruiting processes, training processes. I think that's key. But, what other insights can you shed for our listeners about being able to break through that magic lid of 50 people?
I think a big part of it comes down to automation. A lot of the trades tend to fight the nature of needing to put things on computers. I
Right.
think there's this illusion that maybe once you digitize the framework of how you're completing work and tracking work completed in the field, we've built a PDF dystopia for ourselves. So a lot of uh, a lot of business owners tend to want to stray away from computerization, and I think that's a big folly that a lot of trade partners and a lot of business owners that are in the trades fall into, is they think, well, paper's forever. It's simple tech. We've had it around for a long time. Technicians know how to use it in the field, and I think it's really an interesting thing when it's like an A or B type when you talk with these business owners. They're either all about computerization and automating that layer to be able to scale and add scalability, or they're just vehemently against it. And so they sit at the size that they sit, or they teeter in between that glass ceiling of trying to get larger and never quite scratching that itch.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, I feel like one of the biggest holdups for a lot of owners in the trades in general, especially when you start trying to go past 30, 40, 50, really is this lack of digitization. I mean, that's the whole thesis behind Motion Ops. We built this to help businesses get through these ceilings that they experience, right? And I don't know. It's just like, they always say you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Maybe they're stuck in their habits, whatever. I mean, I get it. My dad's the same way. He's been a GC in California his whole life. And it's like, I explain what we're doing. He still doesn't get it. And it's just hard for him to fathom it. But yeah, I mean, once you start reaching a point where you can't scale past, really that lack of software does slow you down so much, right? Now let's go back to something you mentioned. You mentioned it really fast, but I think it's really important, Jameson, as you talk about how do you determine in a quick amount of time that you actually can do what you say you can do, or how do we know that you can do what we need you to do? Like, what sort of things are you guys implementing to be able to find out, like, okay, these guys really can do what they say they can do, or these guys really can do what we need to hire them to do? And then there's a second half, which you brought up really quick, which I thought was very insightful too, which is, oh, by the way, if they can't do a few things, what can we do to get them trained up really quick? So can you maybe elaborate your process, what you guys do? I mean, it sounds fascinating to me. I just want to hear a lot more about that.
Yeah, so talent acquisition is where it all starts at the forefront, right?
Yeah.
Like finding that talent, getting it through the door, understanding what's a good place. We like to target education system. A lot of these guys are in an apprenticeship, at least in the electrical trade. They're in an apprentice or they're a journeyman, and they've been in the trade for a certain amount of years, but they're ongoing with education. So when they come to us with a job application, that's usually just a cold solicit off the field, like, hey, I need a job, looking for work type of thing. Those tend to us to be the most difficult to ascertain their skill levels.
Yeah.
Right out of the gate, someone that's coming out of a school requesting a job for us, that's like like an IECRM or a CITC or something here in Colorado, which is where we train. Most of the primary training happens at those schools for trades. Those folks that we tend to like source from education layers always tend to turn out to be they're pursuing their education, they're trying to increase their skill sets. So those right out of the gate are the ones that we'd like to place a big focal on initially, as far as skills, ascertaining their skill level. What is their true skill level in the field? Can I throw them out on a troubleshoot or a triage? Are they going to think methodically? Critical thinking is like the thing we look for the most in an employee.
Well, especially
Uh,
for electrical, right? Like if they can't solve their own problems on commercial. I mean, the problem with commercial is you get crazy stuff that you just got to figure out crap on the fly. Like you can't just, anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, you nailed it. Commercial electrical will throw you a little something from every corner of the planet in one store.
Yeah.
It really is a wild animal to try and conquer. Yeah, and I think that the other part is that reinforcement training. Once we've identified someone who's come in and needs some reinforcement training, or maybe is lacking a particular skill set that may or may not have been advertised, we like to mentoring is the big component, right? Like we try to gamify it internally. We try to track our metrics and kind of, it's not so much a shame game. It's more of, hey, look at what this guy can do. Maybe you should work under him. And so we try to pair our apprentices and our journeymen together in a succinct way wherein they're learning skills that they're not already super developed on, right? So if one guy struggles with like hooking up a CT cabinet or understanding proper grounding in a transformer, we're going to pair him with a journeyman that is well aware of how to do that work, and then potentially even get our master out in the field to just train them both on, hey, this is how it works. And then also, this is what you may also run into. So though we're working in this one work order, you need to be like well aware that there's going to be different work orders. There's a lot of work order diversity that occurs in the commercial world.
I love it. One thing I think is pretty interesting is generally have just straight up electricians. Sounds like you guys kind of do a lot more. So you guys will do electrical, you guys will do low volt. Sounds like you guys even do some information systems programming. I don't know the extent of what you guys do, everything. But I mean, can you kind of elaborate as far as how you guys execute on that? Sounds really cool, but like, I'm sure that's probably a huge value add to the client as well. Just being able to have a diversity of trades that all come together synergistically, because this is really what commercial clients need.
Yeah, so I'm a big believer that data sells pathway, and the way to break that down, data sells power drops. Power drops sell data. Typically, as we become more interconnected as a society, and the fabric of data and power seem to kind of like flow over each other. To us, it just made a lot of sense from a business perspective to start looking at, hey, low volt is frequently requested alongside us running conduit. And typically low volt's running through that conduit, or it's being, or we're installing a power drop or something that also needs low volt. And so it just felt really synchronous, to just pair these devices together and up our talent pool and up our capabilities, wherein we had the support to provide our commercial customer if they're like, hey, I need to add a freezer here, but that freezer also needs Ethernet. So it just became this natural evolution, and that kind of dovetailed and spiraled into us providing more IT related services. Like, so what I come from the cybersecurity world, and so CCTV and surveillance are like a big thing in malls and shopping centers. More and more, that technology is just phasing out and getting replaced by better sensors, optics, cameras, and with it comes sometimes increased power consumption or needing to place a power drop somewhere. So pairing all those 3 things together, pretty much low volt, electrical, and then somewhat of a more technical edge at the electrical level and IT level, it just brings it all under one roof and really gets that customer to bite if they're shopping around.
Yeah. Random question. Are you seeing a lot of I've heard about this, but I don't know how much you guys are seeing this, but a lot of the commercial places, are they saying they only want American cameras? Are they okay with some of the Chinese stuff? Because usually Chinese stuff's a little bit better, but they're worried about the security stuff. I'm just curious kind of what you guys are seeing. So
Yeah, it would be we're ripping out TP links left and right.
really,
It
wow.
it's interesting how bound it is to political, cabinetry too, So what's in today and considered, potentially hackable is not necessarily, out tomorrow. So
That's
the
crazy
gift
to
just
me.
really keeps giving.
Yeah, and who knows, man? I think it's so hard to tell if someone's really spying, but it's just
Oh, yeah.
anyway. It just seems like a pretty interesting segment of what you guys do. So, okay, so a couple of things I think are interesting. So, you guys are growing $2 million per year. It's a pretty significant clip for most companies, right? So, year from now, probably doing 20, 22, 24. A couple years after. What do you think you guys are doing from a sales perspective to kind of keep up with that clip? Are you just kind of like having to hire a bunch of new salespeople? Is it just new sales guy, or is it like my salespeople can already do it, just making sure the guys can do it? Like, how do you guys keep growing at that clip?
I like to just say it how it is. You need to play. It's pay to play with Google.
Yeah,
That's still the bulk of how all consumers use search indexing and the internet. AI is starting to kind of change that forefront a little bit, and now it's starting to kind of lean back towards having better content with which the models are trained on.
yeah,
A lot of people are going to ChatGPT or like, hey, where do I But when it comes down to an organic, reactive, I need an electrician here today, you got
still
to pay for those
Google.
leads.
Yeah. So you would say that you guys get most of your customers still through Google, huh?
Most of our customers are actually just our legacy partners, right? Our legacy customers, where once
Okay.
we've gained their trust and
Yeah.
we've really taken good steps to evaluate the pipeline, what's the value of this potential customer, and really try to monetize on that and give them a value add too, where we both kind of feel like it's mutually beneficial. Those are the bulk. For new customers, 100% Google is where we're achieving that.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting you bring up ChatGPT. I just want to circle back on that. We actually had our first client, I think 2 days ago, call and say, "Hey, ChatGPT said you're the best handyman company in the area. I'm calling you guys." So, first time for everything. I mean, I kind of saw this coming, and I think we're just going to see more and more of it. I think it's a challenge for all businesses, all business owners to figure out how you play the ChatGPT game. I think a lot of us know how to play the Google game. I think ChatGPT is still figuring out how the game's going to be played. But I think it'll be interesting as it evolves to see where it goes and how it evolves, right? Um, so another thing I want to talk about, what I love. Sorry, man, I got a few different questions for you. So, Um, I think you guys do mostly commercial, no residential, right? Or do you guys do some residential?
We'll touch a penthouse, or if it's over, 4,500 square feet or something, or if it's, if it's one of our tried and true customers and they're like, hey, I need
I need it at my
to, like,
house or need it.
swap your panel out.
Yeah. Okay, but pretty much commercial. Now I think you guys are in multiple states. What states are you in? How many states are you guys in?
That's a tough one. I should have done my homework there. We cover the whole Midwest,
Yeah.
for as far as reactive service. Texas is a tough market to penetrate. That is one that is just, it's a brutal battle.
Yeah.
It is, the cost per lead there is like $150 more cost per lead than it is in some of the bordering states. So we pretty much, we won't touch Washington, Oregon, or California.
Okay.
There's, heavily unionized. It's, we don't like stepping on toes. We have a lot of trade partners that operate out of those spaces. So we've just made it a point to deal with our trade partners and to say, hey, look, we're not going to roach on your territories. We're going to do what we do best, which is the Midwest.
Yep.
And then we have stadium lighting projects that pretty much blanket all the continental U.S. We do stadium lights all the way up to New York. We
Oh,
do
wow.
a lot of football stadiums, stuff like that. So our project's reach is over the Mississippi, but our reactive service stops at the Mississippi and travels west up to the westernmost states and
Yeah.
closes at that point.
So you guys kind of go where you need to go, and commercial generally is gonna be a lot more travel and stuff like that. So, how do you guys balance out managing just the operations, multiple states? I know you got multiple branches. I think for a lot of people, that's just like a hurdle they can't get. Or talk about, glass ceilings. I think for a lot of business owners, like, hey, I've gone as deep as I can in market one. What do I do to go out to market two, right? So, how do you handle that logistically? I mean, you got to manage multiple people, varying areas, making sure they're working. Like, what do you guys do for all this?
Yeah, so as far as an operations pipeline, we do regular weekly meetings with branch managers and check in with them. I mean, all your typical stuff, right? Biggest thing that we've screened for to allow for scalability, or I should say, the biggest thing that allows for us to scale at the pace that we have been, is screening managers in a capable way, right?
Yeah.
Personality management becomes the most difficult thing, which is surprising because the geography is so vast and the work so complex. It turns out the people are the hardest, and the internal people become the hardest. There's
Isn't it crazy?
mindsets and I've done it this way, or there's another way to do it that way. So, really taking a focal on who you have managing what areas and what their skill sets are and how well they manage the technicians in the field has been hugely pivotal for us. Like, having a bad manager covering 3 to 4 states is the difference between it taking away from 9 other states, because it's that time, it's that administrative overhead addressing this one manager's behavior. That's a big focus of
Yeah.
how we kind of trim down that time and that wasted overhead of managerial, personality management. I don't know what else to call it.
In your guys' case, you guys do just commercial. I think there's always this debate for a lot of people working in the trades. Do we do residential? Do we do commercial? There's always pluses and minuses. I think one of the knocks on commercial is, oh, it's like lower margin and, stuff like that, right? It takes forever to get paid. So when you guys look at it, what do you guys love about commercial? What are some of the things that are kind of pitfalls, things to look out for, things you guys have done to overcome them? Yeah, I mean, what sort of insights can you share?
I try to tell everybody, I can't tell you how many times I've had a green engineer or a green sales guy come in and, "Oh, I closed this great deal. Cool. What are the payment terms?
Yeah,
Have you done your due diligence on them? Have you ran their Dun and Bradstreet? Have you done the due diligence that is this a credible customer? Like,
yeah,
are they worthy of me doing the work for them?" I think most businesses miss that part, and you can really save a lot of heartache by a simple credit check, or looking someone up on Reddit, checking out what the internet has to say about a customer. Do they pay? What are the optics? What's the glass door look like? What does it look like internally for that business? There's a lot of evaluating that can happen in just a cursory internet search that allows you to avoid most of the heartache or financing a project for a larger customer. So
yeah,
that's a big one. Yeah.
yeah. How do you guys handle with if the customer's net 30 and they're running up net 60, net 90, still haven't paid? What do you guys do in that case?
So it really just depends, and it's case by case. Sometimes customers we've worked with just get into a financial pickle, and it's like, okay, well, they've paid on time for the last 3 to 4 projects, larger projects we've done with them. So we evaluate it on a case by case. But a good general rule of thumb is we like to evaluate it against the company's current credit. So we like to look. Those systems are in place to enable us all to do business with each other. And then sometimes, like, the net 60/30 thing, I always like to plan on a contract being the maximum term. So like if a customer approaches me and says, "Hey, we're net 90 on this contract," I'm like, "Great. Expect me to mobilize at 40%. And here's why." And if they can't make that work, they're also financing the project on some level. That's typically the insight that I like to glean from that. You know, if it's difficult to acquire money on the front end, it's going to be difficult to acquire money throughout the course of the project.
It's awesome. Now, for anyone looking to get into commercial, you guys are obviously making good money doing this. What sort of things do you think are helpful to make good money in commercial? You talked about screening clients. I think that's huge. We do some commercial ourselves and we have our own processes of screening clients. I think that's utterly important, especially when it comes to commercial payment terms. I mean, sales guy comes in, he's like, "Yeah, we got this great commercial deal." Same exact thing. It's like, okay, what are their terms? So,
Yeah.
but like, what other things are helpful with commercial? Like, do you guys have tactics operationally to get a higher margin out of a job? Like, what sort of things do you guys find are helpful to make more money in the commercial realm?
That's a two-part system that we like to adopt internally, and I think a lot of businesses are kind of coming around on this. If you've interacted with any of our customers, they like to make fun of me because I always say, we don't have to do it the way our dads did it the last 30 years. That's old
Yeah.
school. Like,
Yep.
we could just have an open, honest conversation about pricing and what it's going to look like from both sides of the table. And I think the last 30 years of GC projects, commercial side has really felt like, pulling I hate to say it, but it's hoodwinking, right?
Yep.
They're like trying to squeeze stuff into the bid or there's gotchas on the change orders. And that just leaves both parties at the end of the day just frustrated with one another, right? And so we really try to put a focal on accurate estimates. So bidding so accurately that we know what our stated variance is going to be. Like when we submit a hard bid, I also submit, "Hey, I think I might be 12% over or 12% under based on tariffs or market fluctuations." That method only works if you are very loyal with your vendors and you
Yeah.
have a very good relationship with your vendors and you also have vendor agnosticism, right? So that doesn't mean just getting in bed with one vendor or being loyal to just one vendor. It means being honest with all your vendors and letting them know who else you're loyal to. And you basically open up the lines of communication. And that seems to solve 90% of all the hiccups that come from the commercial world, at least as far as I've seen. Yeah, that's pretty much how we kind of handle that on the front end. And
Over communicate and transparency. I love it.
yeah,
Beautiful combination. Just makes for smooth projects. And yeah, I would say that a lot of frustrations with construction in general, especially larger projects, which commercial, that's all it is just a lack of proper communication, not having enough updates, not keeping customers in the loop or anything else, right? So,
yep.
so for your jobs operating in a few states, jobs going on all over, do you guys generally have most of your guys doing projects? You guys bring in some outside guys sometimes? You have to like shift guys from one state to another quite a bit. Like, how do you guys handle all of that?
Oh, that gets interesting because we have overlapping territories where we have like reciprocity, or we can do reciprocal licensing, or not.
Yep.
So it really depends. As far as the split between service, we're probably like 75% guys just rocking service. So reactive, day to day, putting out fires, getting out there, hooking it up, doing it for
Awesome.
quality price, and getting out. The other 25% of that is projects. And that's not necessarily that 75-25% split doesn't really reflect margin or revenue, right? Like a lot of money comes off of project sides or the project side of things, just because they're higher netting jobs typically, more technical. They need more technical work. There's, tough to find the material, tough to find the engineering. So that we almost always use temporary staffing companies. And a big part of that reason is they're gobbling up a lot of the really good talent. They can sometimes offer more diverse jobs. Sometimes guys don't want to stay on projects for 2-3 years at a time. So we've come to find that we treat our basically our staffing companies. We have a very hand select few of them, and they are very much the vendor we are most loyal to because at the end of the day, if you can get the parts and you don't have electricians,
That's great. Yeah, I feel like having temporary staffing is very helpful, especially for larger projects, right? It's good to bring them in, good to have some extra help, good to have guys for projects. I'm just curious, what staffing companies have you guys found success with? I feel like that's like sometimes half the battle, right? So,
yeah, I'll name shout Elevation Staffing based out of Colorado has hands down the best electricians. Like they
who is
hire
it?
guys that run for the money, and they are just they're a smaller outfit, but they are they're able to scale up and get us 20 to 30 guys on a whim for if we need to do an Amazon warehouse or we need to get out there and work in the stadium like at Empower or something.
That's great.
Those guys, it's a husband and wife running the whole office, and they're fantastic. Somehow they're able to scale well beyond what we're able to scale at the office chair position.
That's amazing. What was their name again? You cut out real quick when you mentioned it. I'm just curious what was
Elevation Staffing.
Elevation Staffing. That's awesome.
Yep.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, so I mean it's awesome hearing about what you guys are doing right now at Lightning Mobile Electric, Jameson. I also know you've got an interesting background yourself. Sounds like this is not your first rodeo. You've been able to go work at multiple companies in the past, helping them scale and everything else. Yeah, just tell us a little bit about your background. I mean, what other companies have you worked with? Sounds like you've done a decent amount in home services, in the trades. Maybe just kind of give us a quick little background on that.
Yeah, so I left the computer world. I come from cybersecurity world. I like to kind of champion myself as a hacker. Essentially, I want to figure out the unique ways to get around what's considered the status quo as far as computing and secure computing. A lot of companies like to slap secure on the box, and it's not necessarily so.
Yeah,
And so I come from that world of like, well, back it up. Proof is in the pudding.
yeah,
So kind of taking that and scaling it into the trades. The one thing as I orbited through my cyber career is I just kept noticing I see mechanical guys and electrical guys on every single one of these job sites. Even if I'm working in servers or in the data center or remote doing signal stuff, there's still electricians out here. There's still mechanical guys trying to cool the microchips. So 10 years ago when I started stepping into the trades, I was like, I need to translate some of this software knowledge downstream and operations knowledge towards the trades.
yeah.
We've all asked Comcast to come to our house at one point or another in our lifetimes, and you get an arrival window of like
7 hours.
between. Yeah, thank you.
It's like,
Yeah,
come on, I'm gonna hang out all day waiting for this guy to come by my house for like 10 minutes. I mean, it's pretty wild.
yeah.
So, yeah.
Yes, I like to use I entered the trades to try and solve the technician waiting window. Like, there's no reason for us to sit at our homes or at a business all day and not know when that technician or that specialized skilled tradesman is going to show up.
Yep.
Like, that's a big part of it. Yeah, so that's kind of my background and how I floated into the trades. And then I started with mechanical and trying to optimize those layers
Yeah.
and started in a residential firm doing basic same thing, directing operations, office management, and then just slowly but surely started realizing that like a lot of these dispatch tools are so cumbersome that
Yeah.
they don't solve anything. They
Yeah.
actually add so many layers of complexity. And so eventually that started to like
Yeah. No
started
one
to
wants got to
understand
click
that
off
part and
20
then
buttons to
transition.
schedule a job, right? So,
Yeah. Yeah.
so I'm just curious. I mean, you're a hacker, and I love just the hacker mindset. Find the most efficient way to do something. If you can break something, legally and ethically, just break it and just make it better. So, like, when you look at a business, and it sounds like you've worked in multiple businesses, different stages, stuff like that. Generally, like, what are some of the things you're like, oh man, inefficient here, inefficient here, inefficient here. I can get all these improvements. Like, what are the inefficiencies you see at a lot of businesses, and what are some of the quick wins that you see for a lot of them as well?
Um, it might sound counterintuitive, and I know a lot of these SaaS companies push this envelope of tying your accounting system into the dispatching layers or the field estimating layers. But I've come to find that separation of church and state between your accounting layer and your dispatch system is like the best thing you can do.
Yeah,
Um, it does add a little bit of redundant work, but a lot of the times that redundant work is catching, like for us, a silly thing is electrical tape, right?
yep,
Like I'll cry about every little nook and cranny that doesn't get billed to the invoice because that's just who I am as a person. It's not
yeah.
technically accurate unless you caught
I'm sure
every
guys forget all the
tape.
time to bill out for that tape, though, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that's exactly right. So yeah, I think that's the thing I look for first when I'm looking at an ailing business or a business that's like ripe for explosion. Like they've got growth potential. I want to be here. I want to help them take it through that glass ceiling. It literally comes down to how does the accounting system tie into the nuts and bolts of what's actually being done in the field.
yeah, yeah. I mean, the thing, and again, this is part of the reason why we built Motion Ops, right? But it's like when you look at it, there's so much chaos with construction, just so much chaos. Like guys are worried about this part of the job or that part of the job or material showing up over here or like the customer being here to unlock this thing or do this. Like it's a whirlwind, right? And so in between all of that, it's like very easy to be like, oh crap, I forgot to bill out for, these bolts over here. I forgot to bill out for the electrical tape to your point. And it happens all the time. And literally, if you're to look at most contractors. I don't know what it is, but it'd probably be like 2%, 5%, 7%, like a decent amount of materials that just aren't ever even built for, right? And so, yeah, I love your mindset as far as efficiency and gaining growth and extra profits out of that. So, awesome. Anything else you find big inefficiencies with, or sounds like that's kind of the main stuff that you find when you look at companies?
You know, it's crazy. Some of the companies I've gone to as of late, it's wild. It depends on the health and the morale of your office personnel and what tools they're using to process the invoices. I am a big believer that in the trades, technicians are rock stars. It's their job to go out, play the guitar, smash it, and us office personnel and operations people and accounting managers and all that, dispatch coordinators, it's our job to clean that up.
I,
So supporting that technician mindset and improving their quality of life while also capturing every bit of cost that you can is everything in the trades.
I love it. I love it. I love that analogy of the rock star and the supporting cast, because really the guys are the rock stars. I mean, they're the ones going out, making customers' dreams come true, making sure we're solving their problems. And yeah, the rest of the team really should do what they can to keep them busy, keep them booked, keep them on the road, and then also making their lives easy so they can focus on doing what they do best, right? So,
Yeah. 100%.
so another interesting thing I want to talk about is, in a previous life, you were a hacker. Tell us a little bit about that previous life, man. Sounds like you had some cool, interesting stories about that. So,
Yeah, yeah, it's an interesting one too. The hacker life is very interesting because it's a lot of you're fighting upstream constantly. You're fighting a system that doesn't want to change. It wants to maintain the status quo, and it's often cheaper to use the tools that everybody is currently using and just let them be insecure up
yep,
until a point that it isn't. And that is very much is what brought me to the trades. It's that same attraction to raw challenge. And how do we do something so technically accurate that it can't be defeated?
yeah,
That was truly some of the cool stuff that I got to do back in the old days. Like speaking at DEF CON and getting to go to the hacking conventions out in Nevada and kind of talking about breaking like tech all the way down to like thermal stickers that are meant for evidence bags. So like how do you defeat a tag that goes on an evidence envelope without breaking the tape? They have these like secure tapes,
it's crazy.
different adhesive types that are used in like crime scene investigation and stuff, and that are supposed to like show you if someone opened it up or
Yeah,
tampered with it. And just some of the fun stuff. I remember at a DEF CON, we were out there hanging out, and it turned out a hotel iron actually and like a small hair dryer and some bobby pins were able
that's
to
all you need.
defeat this like tape that costs, I don't know, like $80 a foot or something. Just
That easy to defeat it. It's wild, man.
yep,
That's wild.
with the right mindset and the right skill set. Yeah.
That's wild. Well, I think your hacking days are behind you. You're hacking the trades right now. So moving on to bigger and better, I guess, right? So,
That's
um, so a couple last questions. So, if you had to choose a book that you think Jameson's probably one of the most influential books for you from a business perspective, what would that book be and why?
hmm. I'm gonna go with Zen in the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. There's a really great metaphor in that about the knife of truth and what that means and what is truth when it comes down to busyness or business as we like to call it.
Yep.
Um, I think it's a worthwhile read for a lot of people. A lot of us like to hair binge the truth, right? Kind of push it back and forth, or what it's about perception. And really, for me, like as a computer hacker, as an electrician, at the end of the day, the electrons flow, the voltage is correct, or it isn't.
It's
So
pretty simple. I love it.
yeah.
Very insightful. Now, if you had to think about one business person you could go spend a day with, alive, dead, just anyone that's influenced you most, who would it be and why?
I'm gonna be so cliche on this one. I'm gonna pick Nikola Tesla because that man made no money doing what he did, but wow, we all use his inventions.
I mean, it's unreal what he did, isn't it? Like, just
It's
everything.
mind-boggling.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty impressive. Yeah, I'd say it's a lot more impressive than a lot of the other quote unquote inventors. I mean, I can't think of anyone's done more impactful stuff than what he has. So awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Jameson, thanks so much for being here. Thank you for joining us. If any of our listeners want to get a hold of you, reach you, connect with you, maybe pick your brain on stuff, maybe they need some help with some commercial electric or anything. How can they reach out to you? How can they interact with you?
The best way, just check us out on our website, lightningmobileelectric.com. You're sure to reach us.
Okay, awesome. Thanks so much for being here. Thank you guys again for joining us on the Service Contractor Allstar Podcast. If you've enjoyed this content, please give us a like. Please promote us online, all that good stuff. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time. See ya.